Welcome to your first lecture in A-Level Media Studies. These lectures will provide you with all the base information and concepts about different themes throughout your media journey. You will need to be watching these when indicated by your tutor or teacher so that you can come to lesson and use that time to participate in activities that apply to the information given in these lectures. You will be checking your understanding of all the key concepts brought up. This may be a flip of what you're usually used to. It may be that you're used to having lectures in class and then answering questions at home, but what I think is important is that you are solving the problems inside the classroom as a class. This also will allow you to collaborate with other students and have your teacher there to support your understanding of the information given in the lectures. The learning outcomes for today's lecture is to introduce semiology and show how it can be used to analyse the text. You're going to define key theories and terminologies to be studied and used in media analysis. To start your studies in media, you need to be able to read and analyse text from a critical perspective, and that's where semiotics comes in. Semiotics is the study of signs in our culture. These might be in any aspect of print, audio, visual or digital media. It can include images, sound and language. Semiotics is complicated to start with, but to get your head around it, you'll understand the benefits it has when analysing your text. So let's start with where semiotics has come from. Semiotic theory is the study of signs in our culture and how they communicate meaning. There are three main theories to study at A-level, but in this lecture we will be covering two of them. Okay, let's start with Roland Barthes. Barthes was one of the most important French philosophers of his last century. His legacy is in the reading of popular culture. Barthes analysed this significant process and studied the relationship between denotation and connotation, understanding there was a process taking place, and referred to this in order of significance. He began with denotation, which is the literal meaning of a sign, and connotation, which are the associations that are made when interpreting that sign. But let's look at some examples to make sure that this makes sense. The denotation is a signifier. The process of analysing the signifiers of a sign is a literal description of what you can see or hear. So for example, the signifier on this sign is a large aeroplane in flight. The image denotates the same. Connotation is what is signified. It is the process of analysing the meaning of the sign. For example, what is signified by this sign, or the connotations of the sign, could be the beginning of a journey to a faraway place, the idea of speed, representing the idea of modern day travel. Okay, so this is what Roland Barthes believed in. This was his theory. Okay, let's move on to Ferdinand. He viewed semiotics as a scientific discipline and that linguistics provide a good model for application to a wider cultural phenomenon. Written or spoken language is primarily a form of communication between humans, but it is not the only form. The mass media are forms of other codes. Semiotics allows us to access these other codes and understand the sense that the audience make of them. Let's look at his model to explain his process using an apple as the object. So the sign is the object of the thing, and in this case, the apple. The signifier is the apple's physical existence, so it's red, it has a leaf, it's round, and it's an apple. So the signifier is the mental concept of the sign. In this case, it is signifying freshness, healthiness, temptation, or a teacher's pet. His work is at the heart of how we use semiotics and media studies. He shows how a sign can be simple or complex. Let's look at some other signs that we might see every day and discuss their meaning. I will show a sign. You can pause the video if you want to and write down everything you can think of when you see this sign. Great, so this is a red love heart, but it also communicates love, passion, friendship, romance, family, life, body, feelings, muscles. All of that relates to that one love heart on the screen. Let's look at another one. So this is an exclamation mark in a red triangle, but at the same time, this sign communicates danger, panic, warning, safety. Most media text you analyse can be regarded as a complex sign, comprised of many signifiers plus signified, which combine into a larger overall significance of the sign. Okay, now we have introduced semiotics and two of its main theories, let's look at some examples. You can see here that the signifier is represented by the public bus, as well as a woman's hand holding onto the handrail that are shaped like hands. There are also words on that page. Whose hands are you holding in capital letters, which also adds to the signifier. What is signified to you? Perhaps the feeling that you can be dirty, unhygienic and full of germs. For this ad, a strong message is effectively communicated without the use of much words. A good example of the Adidas advert, "Fake hurts real," implies the user was once wearing shoes that were not Adidas brand, resulting in an injured and sore foot. The image of the result implies some of the story that the person has bad experience with shoes. Although we do not see them wearing these fake shoes, we understand and can probably imagine a time in our own lives where we had a similar experience of being uncomfortable in a pair of shoes. This gives Adidas the opportunity to put their shoes in a positive light without even showing their actual product. They are creating a trust in consumers by implying that their shoes will not leave their feet hurting. The use of bandages creates the Adidas logo on the foot and could possibly be a subliminal message that their shoes will aid or relieve their feet. Okay, let's move on to the context and the anchorage. Often our interpretation of a sign will be based on the context with which it is shown. For example, the colour red has often connotation of danger, and it is used on many warning signs. Therefore, a circle with a red border or with a diagonal bar across it gives our interpretation some context. The term anchorage is used to describe how the combination of elements within a sign fit together and fix the meaning. Anchorage is the way different media language elements combine to help fix the meaning that the producer wants to convey to the audience. Print text such as magazine, adverts and newspapers all use anchorage. This is mainly in the form of captions, which are all found close to the pictures, to help their audience interpret the photograph in the way that the producer intended. As we discussed earlier, semiotics is a complex academic field. There are many terms associated with its use, but there are a few you will find yourself using frequently that we have not covered yet, such as the arbitrary or symbolic sign. This is a sign that does not have an obvious connection to what it is representing, but the meaning of which is agreed on by the user of the particular code. Ferdinand referred to this sign as symbolic. Many road signs can be regarded as symbolic. This is because you have to read the highway code to understand what they mean. We have just referred to code, but what is a code? It is a system used to create meaning. It is vital that codes are shared and their meaning agreed on across a culture, or they cannot be decoded. The various kinds of codes used in print media analysis are described in more detail in technical codes and features, which we will go on later. A good way to think when you are breaking down an image or an advertisement or any type of print media is to think about the following. What is the technique? What is the effect? What is the effect on the audience? What else could it symbolise? Consider an alternative viewpoint. And all of this should have broken down your print media. Okay, that's everything that we need to cover really in this lecture. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get together in lesson and we're going to apply all our theory. Hope it's been helpful and I look forward to seeing you all soon.